Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Behind the Reel. I'm your host, John, and tonight we have a special guest for you. We've got Oliver Ngy standing by for us. Big bass dreams, big bait enthusiast. He's been in the game for a long time. Make sure you guys, if you do have some questions that you want to shoot over his way, we'll definitely try to get to those just as quickly as we can. Put those over in the live chat, and we'll definitely get to those. But tonight we've got some things that we want to talk about. We've got a little bit of a program here to go along with, but we're going to talk about how Oliver has made his come up and how he's just chasing his passion, chasing his dreams, and pretty inspirational story. And I think you guys just might enjoy it. Also, if you guys haven't been staying tuned to the channel, to this podcast here, we will have Christine Fisher on next week to talk about her big win. So we've got some pretty cool guests lined up for this podcast, and I see you guys are already popping off in the live chat there. So appreciate you guys. We're going to go ahead and bring Oliver on, and we'll just get right to it. What's up, man?
Evening. What's up, guys?
I forgot to tell you, though, I did mention that Christine Fisher is going to be on the show. She told me to tell you hi.
Oh, shout out to the homie.
Yeah.
Yeti ambassador or team ambassador.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, Christine's
Heck
awesome.
yeah.
She's a hammer, undoubtedly, as a woman.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and she's been she's chasing her dreams too, man. It's pretty sweet to see her doing her thing, and she's definitely repping for the Midwest folks around here. I know she's a Nebraska girl, but we'll just call her a Midwest Fisher gal, right?
Oh, that's right. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. And we've got some people popping off over here in the comments. We'll make sure to get to those here. Looks like some of the guys might have tuned in with you on Bass University last night. They're joining us again tonight, so thank you guys. But one thing that I want to do is maybe just give you an opportunity to, you don't need to introduce yourself. Oliver Ngy, Big Bass Dreams. I know I identify as a swimbait angler. Is that fair to say?
Man, I'm a swimbait angler. I'm a mealworm and a bobber angler. I'm pretty much anything with a hook angler. So yeah. I've made it a real concerted effort over the years to not allow myself or brands or partners to pigeonhole me, because I truly have been passionate about all types of fishing except probably fly fishing. And that's
fly fishing.
And that's really just because I know that's another deep, dark hole that I just can't make the time for to not suck at. I see the appeal, but that's just, there's so many things I want to do with the traditional, or what do the fly guys call it? It's not conventional. It's gear. Catching fish with gear.
Okay.
That I want to scratch off my list before I have to get, challenge myself even further and catch them on some little itty bitty fly.
I can definitely relate with that. I'm kind of backwards. I feel like, I live in Kansas, which is probably one of the best places to hunt for at least white-tailed deer. And, I'm stuck chasing these like 2 and 3 pound bass, instead. So, but I can't afford another hobby, and then like you say, I would get so into hunting that I may just forget fishing exists. And I'm just scared that would happen.
No, totally. That's why I suck at a lot of things in life. I really do, because I just knew that to not suck at something, you pretty much got to go all in. And between my aspirations of making the NBA, which are probably finally closing in on me, and fishing, those are the two things that I love doing the most. And, I take a lot of pride in sucking a little bit less than I used to.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. When did you decide to go all in with fishing? Like when did you put all your eggs in one basket there?
2014. That was my last year working in the professional world. And at the time,
Okay.
I was in construction management. Started in the construction industry in 2008 and had that 6-year run. Project engineer, project manager, estimator, steel stud framing, concrete, bunch of stuff. Worked on the Rose Bowl a bunch the last couple years, and finally saw an opportunity to send it and take that big leap of faith in myself and jump into this unknown world that continues to evolve now. But gosh, back then it was scary, man. Like to leave a secure paid job, a job that a lot of people, would kill for,
Yeah.
to go make something of fishing. Like that was not easy, and unheard of. So like themes that you guys see in a lot of the content, even the merch, like blaze your own trail. I felt like I was blazing my own trail because that was even preceding YouTube, and their
Yeah.
big in our scene. So there wasn't like, oh, how do I become a full-time fisherman and actually not go broke? It was a really steep learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys want to go get one of those t-shirts or get you some swag, go on over to bigbassdreams.com. Show the homie some love there.
I appreciate you, brother.
You and Josh probably had a conversation about construction.
Yeah.
I would imagine. He found his way back into the construction business once we started adding on to RMP, whether he wanted to or not.
You guys are busy over there. All kinds of projects going on. It's exciting to see.
That second building is actually going up as we speak, so pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, 2014. I mean, I feel like, to be honest with you, I kind of started fishing around that time. Like I didn't grow up fishing. I'm not started out fishing with my dad, at a young age. That's not my story. But when I got into fishing, I feel like the fishing industry has grown so much even since, 2014.
For sure. Oh, absolutely.
And there's
been waves of growth. And
so it would have been a lot riskier of a decision to make back then than it would even be for somebody making that decision today.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But, I had faith in myself. I knew what it was like to live in that world, right? And all the struggle in my personal and professional life at that point, to even get to that point, to have a respectable career and make a decent wage. So I got to experience all of that. So I no longer had the FOMO, right? The what ifs, like, man, if only I got that job as a project manager and made that money and had the security and the retirement plan, this, that, and a third. But I did, and dude, it really didn't do anything for me, like deep down inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was really the onset of the big push on Facebook back then and Instagram, to where you had access to whatever it is you were into. And in our case, it was fishing, 24/7, right? It's a nonstop feed of everybody's highlights of their day and their lives. It was just like a slap in the face. Every day I saw someone else like catching a big fish or just doing something really cool. Like, damn it, I got to freaking do this takeoff right now. And, numbers and play this terrible game of passing the buck in the construction industry, and it just, I knew it was time for me to move on to something. So it made it a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. You just saw other people living out your dreams and you're like, man, that could be me.
Yeah. I didn't know how I was going to ultimately achieve it, but I knew I had to take at least small steps towards it and had to try. It's really similar to my fishing arc, right? Like, you don't just grow up in California and all of a sudden you buy a swim bait and then all of a sudden you're catching giant bass. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. There's a steep learning curve on learning how to be good at something, and nothing like experience teaches you better. Like, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then something too, like you and Ike were talking about something last night on Bass University, how you can't, the best way to learn is from your own failure, something to that effect.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But you got to be observant. You got to make adjustments. You got to try to improve. You got to want to improve. You can't just keep making the same mistakes over and over and blame it on the cosmic energy of the universe because it's out to get you. Just be
Sure.
smarter about it, work smarter and continue to work hard. But working harder doesn't guarantee you anything. And plenty of people work hard, but
Yep.
the ones that work hard and work smarter, whether it's in fishing or your career, that tend to rise to the top.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of similarities with fishing and, life lessons to be learned, in general, but especially like in business. I mean, you've kind of combined the two, obviously, and you've obviously found a niche there, and you make it work on the water and you catch these big fish, but then you also do a really good job about, promoting yourself and making sure you got gas in the tank to get you to the next lake,
That was a real struggle, bro. Early teen years, I was lucky enough that my mom got me a real terrible beater of a 1987 Nissan Sentra. It was like when they were still making those ugly ass like shit brown cars, real boxy. But
Yep.
dude, it was a struggle to fill that thing up with gas back then. Even when gas was like 89 cents to like $1.09 a gallon, like to fill that thing all the way up, those whopping 8 to 10 gallon tanks, like it was tough to scrounge up that money to go fishing out of town.
Yep.
So yeah, the struggle was real, man.
When did you start fishing? How young were you?
So I'm real similar in regards to, I didn't have like a traditional story of how I started fishing, right? My origin story is a little bit different. Nobody in my family fish. I never met my father, so there was no father-son dynamic there. My grandpa didn't fish. My uncles didn't fish. We just happened to be at a local regional park, which surrounds what is now my home lake, on a family picnic on, like, might have been like Easter weekend or something. And I was just a bored-ass 10-year-old kid walking the bank, and I was like catching little frogs in the tulies. Tulies are what we call reeds here on the West Coast. It's like another species of bulrush. And came across an old stick and some fishing line that was all tangled up because humans are terrible creatures, and spliced it onto that end of that stick like I saw people doing in cartoons and TV shows, right? And I knew I could flip over some rocks in the creek that flowed into the east shore over there and find some worms. And then I did that, threw them in the party cup, and walked my little happy ass over to the fishing pier where people were fishing. It was kind of logical to me.
Yeah.
And put a earthworm on and throw it over the side, and just kind of started getting lost in the day and like staring off across the lake. And, probably 10 minutes goes by, and I'm holding this stick, like a literal stick. And it goes, don't. And, probably out of reaction or instinct, I go to yank whatever this creature is that was trying to eat my worm out of the water, and the line broke. And I think that early tackle failure really set me on this path of trying to figure out what the hell was that. Like, I almost caught a fish. I need to do this. And I spent the whole week that week at a public library, because my mom would take me to the library every day. Big nerd then, still a big nerd now. Always had a thirst for knowledge and learning about things. So for that whole week, I learned about fishing from the encyclopedias, a bunch of fly fishing books, because that's the majority of what they had in the public library. And convinced my mom to go to Kmart and get me a $14.99 Shakespeare combo, and flooded my grandma's garden. She got real pissed off at me for that. So I grabbed all the worms as it came out of the garden, and sat on that pier that following Saturday and skunked my ass off until the end of the day. And then just sitting on top of a pier post with it was like a dropper loop setup with a brass sinker and a little dropper like line off the main line on a 3-way swivel. And all my knots at the time were double overhand knots, maybe triple, just to make sure, it didn't freaking separate on any tension. And by sheer dumb luck, man, at the end of the day, I caught a bullhead catfish. And I was just like, yes. was sick. And I didn't catch another fish for probably another month and a half until one of the old guys who ended up becoming one of my mentors took pity on me and showed me how to like adjust my terminal tackle, go lighter line, use the right hooks, learn a couple presentations of how to use a mealworm or a red worm or something to catch bluegill and red ear sunfish off that pier. It's crazy because his grandson actually reached out to me on the ground. Hey, man, I'm pretty sure you're the guy my grandpa talks about. It was really good to hear that he's still doing really well. He's old as dirt now, but man, I'll be forever thankful for him and a bunch of those guys that would be regulars at Pudding Stone Lake here in Southern California that took me under their wing in some way, shape, or form and taught me something that I added to my game.
For sure.
A lot of that still sticks with me now, man. It's crazy.
Sometimes I ask myself, like, we catch these breaks along the way, and sometimes you can't really explain why the guy decided to take me under his wing and, show me how to do this, or, why these certain things happen to you that ultimately escalate into something much greater. But I think that people see your passion for something and that's what attracts people to you, and makes them want to, I don't know, help you out, or they feel compelled to feed it. I don't know.
It's wild, man. It's really humbling anytime someone reaches out and actually wants to pick my brain or is interested in any aspect of my story or what I got going on. I never thought anybody would care about anything I was passionate about, especially where I grew up, dude. Like, no one fished. Fishing isn't like part of the culture here in the LA area. It was more of an oddball activity. Like, what? Like, you go fishing? Like, where? Like, and it was always strange to have fishing conversations as a 10 to 20-year-old, probably. So to see this level of interest across the country and now even worldwide, it's pretty mind-blowing, and it's super dope. And I mean, the fact that I'm getting love from Kansas, like, who would have ever thought? A young version of me definitely didn't see that coming.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as you can see, Casual Bass Guy says, good to have you on. Definitely appreciate you here in Kansas. And then we got Matthew Acevedo, I believe. I don't know. I think I said that right. Hopefully I didn't butcher that.
I'm going to guess it's Acevedo.
Okay, there you go. So I did butcher it. Sorry. Are you? So he's asking if you're a part of pro staff at BKK. And then,
I am.
What do you think about their products?
Gosh, let me grab some stuff here. Excuse the delay and the mess in the background. I'm kind of in the process of unpacking from this year, reorganizing, repacking for next year. It's just wild out here. But we talked a little bit about this hook on Bass U last night, and this is an exciting piece of terminal tackle for me. Up until now, like, we've all been fishing most likely an owner beast hook, maybe Eagle Claw Trocar. VMC has some options, and they're all good hooks, and I've caught a lot of fish on them. But what makes this system unique is that it's modular, and I've got like a 13 fishing swim bait here, rigged weedless on the 8/0 hook. And a lot of times we've had issues with slippage, right, not seating the hooks correctly in these soft swim baits. Well, one of the guys last night was talking about how Paul Bailey had a great tip on utilizing a Carolina keeper. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's just like a clear kind of tube with a slit in it that you'd open up with pliers. And instead of tying a swivel on, you can actually just use that thing because it would clamp your line and keep your weight from sliding all the way down to the hook for a Carolina rig. But he was actually taking it and using that on the beast hooks in place of where these guys already have a silicone stopper to help hold that bait in place.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's genius, and it's always the little small details that make a difference in fishing, guys. It's a culmination of all those small things that'll make a difference in the overall scheme. And if you notice here, it's also got 2 more silicone stoppers. And what's cool about this is like you no longer have to buy weightless hooks and weighted hooks. You can actually just buy this system, and it comes with interchangeable, like modular parts. So like
That's cool.
It actually comes with 2 different weights here, and it literally just slips on, and you push the silicone stoppers in there.
Okay.
Right now,
That's cool.
You got 2 different weighted options right out of the pack, and then you got a really easy to remove and add on blade option. So you can take that off or put it on, depending if the wind's blowing or you need a little bit more flash because the water is dirtier in this area. And I mean, the hook point is super sharp. And to be honest, I was really pleasantly surprised at how sticky some of the treble hook options are. My favorite hook right now for a hard bait is a Spear extra wide gap. And it's kind of got like the inward turn points of like Gamakatsu extra wide gap treble hook or a Mustad triple grip. Yep. But damn, that hook point is like next level sharp. And fish that have been eating those baits have been stuck, and when they jump, they stay on. I'm really excited. They make all kinds of dope stuff. So I don't want to get too far down that tangent of making this sound like a BKK commercial, but I'm hyped to be on the team. They finally did just get into Tackle Warehouse with a couple SKUs, but dude, they make all kinds of stuff. Freshwater, saltwater. I'm a big saltwater fisherman too, so they make all kinds of big dope products for that scene. But the crazy thing about that hook in particular, especially for all you swimbait guys, they make 4/0, 5/0, 6/0, 8/0, 10/0, 12/0, 14/0, 16/0, and 18/0 treble. So like I'll be able to take a bait, like a 10-inch mag draft or even a big Defiant, and I can, cut that harness out and figure out a way to rig these baits weedless now when I couldn't do that before. So,
hell yeah,
exciting times to be a fisherman, man. It's cool to see the industry continue to evolve and create better products for us as anglers. Because I mean, you guys all know, dude, that struggle is real sometimes.
Definitely
trying to fish the opens for the first time in your life.
Absolutely, and we haven't even got there yet. My boy Edwin here was wanting to know. I told him that I gave you that swim bait. Have you got a chance to use it yet?
Appreciate that, Edwin. I have not, to be honest. That kind of wake bait bite never really materialized for me just because of the way the weather's set up this year. We kind of went straight into like early winter. I got it. So I appreciate it.
Shout out to Legal Dope. I got a full-size 3-piece apparently headed my way as well. So it's a little bit bigger, little bigger than what I'm used to, but
we had that conversation last time I swung through the shop. You got to start throwing them bigger baits.
Yep. I'm gonna give it a shot. I got a chat on the way too, so I'm not really I haven't fished a lot of glide baits, to be honest with you. So cool. I'll ask you. I'm going to be fishing Table Rock here in a couple of weeks. Should I fish the glide?
Yeah, absolutely.
This time of year.
So let's talk about traditional baits, right? This time of year, what is probably in the top 3 lure selections for most guys fishing the rock?
Jerkbait.
Absolutely.
So
apply a glide bait exactly how you would apply a jerkbait, and you're going to go move fish and hopefully get bites. But spots on those marina docks, love them. The smallmouth just can't help but crush even a suspending glide, right? That's the power of some of these injection molded glides, right? The ABS plastic ones. Like, let me see here. Apologies.
Yeah, and shout out again. I just mentioned while we're live here, Legal Dope just had a couple nice catches on his new Zilla glide. He had an 810 and an 8 something else by the same guy. I think the same day even.
Oh, hell yeah.
Caught two 8-pounders out there.
Damn, those are big ones.
Yeah.
Cool. Hell yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, as far as like the glide baits in colder water though, and there are times when some of these resin baits have the right density and consistency, especially as that water gets colder and gets more dense. Like some of them will suspend to a degree or fall very, very slowly, but you can adjust those baits and you can take floating ABS plastic glide baits like this Gangcraft here and actually add weight to it, just like guys would add weight to jerk baits to get them to perfectly suspend in whatever water temp. And those long pauses that people like, incorporated into whatever the cadence or rhythm is on how they're fishing that jerk bait. You could do the exact same thing with the glide bait and feel that tick, like feels like a worm bite on that long pause, right? Glide, 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 pause, 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 pause. And it's important, just like a jerk bait, to very slowly pick up that slack line so a bow doesn't develop in your line. So you have a straight connection to your bait. So it'll actually be like gliding really slow to you because of the way that line's pulling. It's not truly suspending dead still. It's almost impossible to do that. But just keeping that bow out of that line by barely picking up that slack, and it could be 5 seconds, it could be 10 seconds, it could be longer, and all of a sudden, tick, he's got it. So definitely throw a glide bait.
All of my competitors, cover your ears. We're fishing a kayak tournament out there. They got a Moyak Winter Series thing going on. So
you guys let that dude Richie in these tournaments with you?
No, he's not allowed. He
has big ones down there, man.
He's does.
He's been doing it for years. Shout out to Richie.
Heck yeah! Shout out to Richie, the swimbait slinger.
That's right.
So we mentioned we'll probably get a little bit behind on these comments. My buddy Jacob here, gotta love the shit brown color, you know.
Hey man, it's a homage to the 70s and 80s.
Fat Bass's TV. I think he's referring to the age maybe that you started fishing. Is that what he's talking about? No, I don't remember. Sure. I don't remember. Maybe I don't know what 13 was. Anyways, shout out to Fat Bass's TV. We love you, Joel. Trevor K. He says he's upset he didn't get to guest host this one. So he's a big bait guy in our neck of the woods.
It wasn't my call, Trevor. It wasn't my call, man.
You Grand Lake guys might know Trevor. He's been on the podcast before for one of our events though. So that's really how this podcast started, was just bringing everybody on that would win these local kayak tournaments and giving them a little bit of a platform. So
cool.
Heck yeah. Trevor K might have been like the second person ever on the podcast. So shout out to Trevor K. Pretty low. Hey, more for us. Casual bass guy. Humbleness. Always keep that, he says.
Always.
Kansas isn't as surprising as Delaware. We probably got some Delaware folks in here.
Yeah, shout out to the Northeast.
Oliver got that Spanish tongue.
I grew up in La Puente, man. It's freaking all of this used to be Mexico at one point.
All right, let's see here. What was your most productive bait or technique this year, and how was it going from south, the central to north, and just all over the country within a year?
Man, what a deeply rooted question with a lot of different facets to it. My most productive bait this year. I mean, not one bait really stood out. Like that's a result of fishing in so many different regions and bodies of water.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stay versatile, and I had success on glide baits, crank down swim baits, soft swim baits, chatterbait played for me, swim jigs, underspins with the soft swim bait body, like finesse stuff, jerk bait, of course. The spinner bait was a big player for me, and the buzz bait was too, surprisingly. So like some some traditional bass fishing culture was a big part of my year. And the adjustment from fishing the south to the central to the north, honestly, wasn't that big a deal for me because I've kind of been doing that on my own schedule for the last several years. So that's part of what made me uh, decide to venture into the tournament world again after all this time, is because I've actually banked a lot of experience on all kinds of water and all kinds of regions. Um, and it was great. I mean, the nice thing about the Bassmaster Open schedule too is they tend to try to schedule it to follow the seasonality of the fisheries to a degree. Late summer, early fall, it was a tough one. Just the weather didn't cooperate. Uh, Hotter than normal temperatures really affected fisheries in a bad way, it seemed. But it was cool, man.
My bad.
No, you're good.
My computer just alerted me that it was in battery saver mode, and I realized my plug-in wasn't all the way connected. So we're good now. So yeah, I mean, you traveled all over the country, so you definitely had to adapt to your surroundings, and that is definitely something that a tournament angler is going to have to do, and something you may have learned earlier on, especially when you kind of started fishing more swim bait stuff. I mean, you've got so many different more options now, but when you started, did you have all those different options in the big bait world?
Man, when I started, like probably around 12 or 13 years of age. No, I mean, back then it was like Kayak, hard head, soft body, 9-inch kind of wake bait, Optimum swim bait before the AA company bought them out. Osprey, maybe that was kind of like towards the end of the 90s. The original Kayak hard head or hard trout made out of wood. A couple of the resin baby bass models. They had the hard head, soft body Kayak sunfish. Some hand carved like striper style, like pencil popper things. The local striper guys are fishing.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, man, it was pretty basic and rudimentary. So I think it's funny now that all these newer age swim baiters tend to like complain and want every bait to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
And man, back then we had like such basic baits to try to fool these fish. And it took a lot of tweaking and manipulation and balancing and boiling and adding nail weights and name it to just get them to swim just straight enough to put it in front of a big fish to have a chance, man. So, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
I hate seeing that stuff. It's like, bro.
You got to have different tools for different jobs. I mean,
Totally.
You learned that in construction, right?
Absolutely.
You know, something. So do you feel like maybe that has helped you become more adaptable? You know, just
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning how to make do with what you got. Now you have all these other tools. It's, you know, it's like you're in, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. My buddy Billy Kay once told me that the lack of resources breeds resourcefulness, and it's absolutely true.
Yep.
When you have very little to work with, you tend to learn to maximize its full potential. So, like, let's say this bait that I just got brand new out of the package doesn't swim straight. Like, I'm not going to go out there and talk a bunch of crap about it. I'm going to see, like, oh, okay, is it warped? Do I need to just boil it, or is it, is it leaning to the left a little bit? Well, okay, one tiny little nail weight on this counterbalance side is going to fix that. Like, it's not that big a deal, guys.
Yeah.
Like, you guys had to see the things that we had to do in the first few decades of this game. Like, you'd probably be like, damn, these fools are definitely like
addicted.
Yeah.
Something just popped in my head. Two things. Spinnerbait. Got to check out the Ozark Flash from Trophy Bass Company if you haven't already.
Okay.
If you want to check it out, hit up Justin. He's a part owner of that company. So,
yeah. Blade bite, man. It's fun. I mean, it's just that's just classic bass fishing to me.
Heck yeah. The other one, what about all, and I don't know, maybe this isn't as new as I think it is, but like crank down swim baits, like 15, 20 footers. I mean, those are starting to become, more popular. Are you throwing any of those, or are you going to start if you aren't already?
Man, one of the big swim baits that I had a lot of success with 8 to 10 years ago was a Jerry Rago soft tool. And it was a build 2 jointed soft bait, 9 and 11 inches, and even a 13-inch version. And I got on that game and pummeled fish on it. So it's definitely something that I'm not a stranger to, but I honestly haven't been doing it as much up until this year. And I found myself cranking the DRT baits quite a bit this season. And I was really surprised at how much both a Clash 9 and a Tiny Clash was a part of my tournament arsenal come game day. I weighed a lot of fish in. A lot of my fish that I did weigh in actually came on those 2 baits, cranking them down.
How far will they go typically?
It depends. It depends on a multitude of factors, right? Distance of your cast, length of your rod, diameter of your line. If you're adjusting the bait by adding weight or taking weight from it, but I can get them down, easily in that 3 to 8 foot range, just depending on all those factors and where I'm trying to get that bait to run. So, you even have a couple baits that took on water early, and it's going to happen with some ABS plastic baits. And you can't see a break in the seams or anything, but the first time you use it, an hour in, you're like, "What the hell? It's got water in it." Well, don't throw that thing away. Fish that thing when you need it to sink lower in the column.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, that was something. That was something that I was doing, was cranking down that wake bait, that one that I gave you,
Sick.
And I was able to get that thing probably 5 or 6 feet, down, and that's where I got most of my bites. Was about 4 or 5 foot of water, I would imagine.
Oh, it's an effective way to catch fish, and if anybody loves cranking, that is looking to get into swim bait fishing, that's a huge one. You literally go out there and fish a big ass crankbait. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, and there, if there are big baits being thrown and the fish have seen the baits, they generally aren't seeing them be presented that way. I'm assuming that's part of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially with everybody so enamored with glide baits the last few seasons.
Yep. Looks like Matthew was saying he was having
separation, or
yeah, we're talking about hooks. Okay.
You must be talking about the Titan Diver Plus system. Okay. But yeah, be excited about that.
I'm definitely going to check that one out. I've got a Rising Sun over here that I'm going to have to hook up here before too long.
Yep.
Fishing to the Max says hi.
Got my boys from Wisconsin tuning in. What's up, boys?
Heck yeah. Okay, they're giving each other shout outs here in the live chat. Small world. Okay, Richie says he can adjust his super tune Chad Shads and Legends to suspend or super slow sink like rate of fall 0.5. So he might have just gave away one of his secrets on accident.
Oh yeah, you burned yourself, bro.
Massachusetts tuning in.
Whoa.
Catch fish, not feelings. I like that one.
Every day.
Okay, here we got another question here from Matthew. If you had one big bait you would have to recommend to someone fishing the East Coast, Jersey area, and 3 to 8 feet of visibility, what would you recommend? In 44, man, there's another one, a lot of facets in this one, 44-degree water. He's trying to catch a fish.
Well,
that's what it is.
Too now, like, what is the ultimate goal? Do you want to just catch a fish? You want to catch the fish?
He's trying to have some big bass dreams. He wants.
If you're looking for the fish, like a proper big one, I'm gonna say a soft bait. And with that colder water temp, I want the ability to stall that bait for as long as I want to, and that means even letting it sit on the bottom and crawling it like a jig or a worm or a Senko, or also having the ability to fish it with variable speeds and even burn it for a portion of the retrieve to trigger a reaction. And that bait would be, let's see, it'd be probably this one, just because I think yellow perch are cool looking fish, and it makes for a really cool looking pattern. And this one's a little beat up. It's got some time on the water, but this is a 8¼ inch bait. It's a Defiant 210. What were the stipulations of 3 to 8 of visibility? So it's natural, but it's got enough color in it. If you're worried about low visibility, for them to be able to pick it up between the opaque color, this one's probably not as washed out. You know, you got some orange on the fins here.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing about big baits, guys. Like, they're displacing a lot of water. I feel like the color is less and less important of a factor the bigger the bait you go. But it never hurts to have confidence in what you're throwing, right? So matching the hatch is really easy in Jersey, where they got yellow perch. And I'm not supposed to show this one to you guys, but I'm going to show it anyway. You know, here's the washed out, fished yellow perch color. But coming next season,
ooh,
this ghost yellow perch.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that looks way good, right?
Yeah, and some clear, real clear water.
Mm-hmm. And like, the versatility of that bait is what makes me want to pick that bait. If you made me pick one bait that I can fish at multiple speeds and different columns in that water, it would be that bait. It's the most versatile. If you want a bottom bounce, you can rig a top hook on it. If you want to swim it mid column or high, you can rig bottom hooks on that thing, all in the same bait. So, and I'd probably go with a slow sink or a moderate sink. That water is relatively shallow.
That's the one. So get you one of those, Matthew, and go catch you the fish. He decided he wanted the fish, not just a fish. CBG's got a good question for you here, and this was one that I had written down. And are you big into the kayak tournament scene or strictly bass boat? What are your thoughts there on the kayak side? Well,
I love fishing out of kayaks. Have since I started dabbling with them back in 2014. Honestly, is when I first got into a yak and started catching them on my home lake on a bottom bouncing soft bait, just like I showed you guys out of the yak. So that was really good times, and another steep learning curve. Like the third time I think I went fishing, I was throwing a Batesmith Magnum, which is like a 9½ inch bait of that style. And I don't know why I chose the 9-foot rod to fish that day. And there's video of me getting freaking wrecked by this big fish. Set the hook on it. Kayak shoots like 10 feet, one direction, because I got no drag on this thing. And I'm just like, oh crap. And I'm like winding the kayak to the fish almost. And it's at the rod tip almost immediately. And now it's 9 feet away from my seated position. And I go to try to maneuver her to grab her, and she shakes my bait free.
Yeah.
Iconic scene. But anyways, excited to get back in my new kayak this upcoming season.
Yes.
I have committed to fishing at least one of the Bassmaster kayak tournaments. So I'm trying to figure out the logistics and the scheduling of how that's going to fit into my existing open schedule and all the other projects that I got going on. But look for at least one high-level kayak tournament, which will be my first one. So that'll be exciting. And this year I'll be doing it out of an Old Town.
Heck yeah.
Be on that remote control life instead of
the autopilot.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, the KBN, or the Bass Nation tournaments rather. Here it's the KBN, the Kansas Bass Nation. And for all of you guys that might be interested in joining us next year for the KBN, we're a little bit behind, but we're going to start taking registrations, and we're going to release that schedule here pretty soon. But you guys will have a chance to earn a spot on the state team and go fish the national championship, just like our boy Justin Russell was able to do. And he'll be fishing the tournament that's going to be held in conjunction with the Bassmaster Classic. And pretty phenomenal feat for him to literally go fish his first kayak tournament ever, qualify for the state championship, and then his second kayak tournament ever, he wins the state championship, and he's now fishing a national kayak event that I think has a $50,000 paycheck for first place.
That's why I love working with you guys at Russell, man, because you guys are anglers.
Yeah.
You guys are about that life. So I appreciate all of you guys, and big shout out to Justin for freaking dropping the hammer on y'all. Damn.
Yeah. I know. I'm not going to invite him kayak fishing anymore.
That's too funny.
Richie says the choices and availability of big baits is ridiculous, and it is, and it's awesome. It's good, and it's good to see that, you know, the community has grown, whatever community you're a part of, whether it's a kayak community or the fishing community in general. But it's good to see that the big bait community has grown to the point where people are able to literally make a living following their passion, right? And if that's big baits, there are a couple guys out there that literally just, and you're one of them. I mean, you know, you've done it, right? Yeah, you've done it. If you're not doing it now, you've done it. Like, make a living fishing big baits. Like, people do that.
It's wild because you can make a living doing whatever the hell it is you want to be doing these days.
Yeah.
Like, really, it's a different world than the previous generation that came before me, for sure. And man, I almost feel bad sometimes when I run into some of them and they tell me about their stories, and they're looking, they're telling me about how they're excited to finally get to their retirement phase and then go chase whatever it is that they dreamt of doing their whole lives.
Yeah.
And man, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And I'm thankful for that. And it makes me keep that foot on that gas pedal, like, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, a really good example of what we're talking about is Christine Fisher. And she is literally making a living. And I'm sure she's, you know, she's not just crazy rich, but she is making a living doing what she truly loves. And I don't know if that doesn't give you goosebumps. Like, I don't know what will. Like, that's badass. And for her to be a chick on top of it, it's really badass to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite style is crankdown baits.
Yeah, it's kind of easy, right? Like, to a degree. Like, you just wind that thing down, try to hit some stuff, and all of a sudden something hits back.
Just like a square bill.
Yeah. I used to the 13-inch soft tool. Yeah, that was a big fish. 15 ounces, I think it was.
Oh, geez. What's it going to take to get Ollie to Kansas for filming with that? We'll call it not Hobie. So we've learned now that he's not going to be in the Hobie. He's going to be in the Old Town.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I'm sure he'll swing through El Dorado at some point, and we just might have to make that happen, Trevor. I'll try to give you a shout out. Try to give you a little bit of a heads up.
I would love to squeeze in like a local meet and greet kayak event with you guys if I can.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Well, hey, check this out. They are doing a Bass Nation event at Grand Lake.
Oh, when is that?
That's a great question, but it's not too far.
No, it wasn't. I left straight from El Dorado to Grand Lake for my last this year. So
kayak. If anybody knows when that event is, I know they just released the schedule within the last week. So if anybody knows, drop that in the comment section over there. I'm trying to look it up here. Grand Lake, April 16th.
Oh, nope. That'll be the weekend I'm going to be hopefully winning the James River Bassmaster Open on the Northern Series.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Well, I see you're in here, but you're going to have to, you and Mike are going to have to fight over second and third.
See some of your competitors in there. Let's see. How was your experience this year? Like, so this is your first time fishing the opens. What were some surprises? You know, I'm sure you had some expectations and going into it. How did it differ from your expectations?
The biggest surprise I had, honestly, was how much fun I ended up having. Uh, Prior to the events, leading into the events, through the events, and to be in a place in my life so far removed from where I started and how I came up in those situations was mind-boggling to me. I never thought I'd ever have opportunities to fish against Iconelli and Polinick and Jocumson, and even on Norman. I'm looking at the schedule after day, or the results on day one, and I'm like, holy crap, Woo Daves is in this tournament. Like that's, I don't know why. I was like, man, this is cool as hell. And the amount of fun I was able to have despite sucking so bad for 18 days out of the 365 this year was a huge surprise. And I'm okay with it because I was able to learn a ton. I was able to go in there blind, not fish for info, figure out these puzzles on my own. Most of those bodies of water were completely new to me, so there's no experience there. And that's a huge deal. Like when we went to the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario, I have some experience there, so that was way easier. And I was on winning fish leading into the tournament, and then the weather conditions changed and made it really tough for me on day one and first half of day two. But experience is a huge factor on these fisheries because number one, they're massive, and to figure out some kind of subtle pattern to beat 224 badasses is incredibly difficult to do from scratch. But I notched off a bunch of experience this year on new water. In the future, if there's events that I can participate in, like the James River, like I never fished it until this year. We were catching monsters in practice, and a multitude of techniques and locations, and spend a lot of time there, to where when we go back in April, while you guys are doing your kayak tournament, I think I can win this one. Like I really do. Like I feel really confident because it's got the class of fish that I like. It sets up, depending on the tide, the way I like in certain areas, and the challenge of fishing in this context, and all of these factors that make fishing and catching 5 keepers really, really hard on a lot of these days was really, man, it was really impactful because it challenged me again. Like it's been a while since I felt this challenged through fishing. It's one thing to be able to cherry pick locations and cherry pick dates and conditions, right? Like I've learned like when I want to be somewhere.
Yeah.
You're being forced to fish somewhere when you might not necessarily want to do it. And that was a big revelation to me of like, holy crap, man. Like it kind of shook me up again. And I needed that to continue to grow as an angler. And tournament fishing was fun. Again, it's been, gosh, I haven't fished a team tournament since probably 2015 or 16. I fished like one of those big fish events a few years ago on Lake of the Ozarks, but that's a different format. And I haven't fished a pro-am.
And won it? Did you win it?
Yeah.
You're just gonna skim over that?
I did.
It's like $100,000 check. Yeah, I fished this one tournament one time.
First and only time I fished Lake of the O. Shout out to Lake of the Ozarks.
Sorry, man. You're just so like nonchalant about that.
Yeah, but to step back into tournaments, especially at this level, like, man, the level of competition is mind-blowing. Like, all of those elite level hammers I was just mentioning, plus all the local guys that feel like they have a shot at winning on their home water. And you can talk about the experience advantage. My gosh, like those guys know the most subtle areas and when to be there. And you can't mimic that unless you try to fish for information like some guys choose to do. And that's their prerogative. They want to do that. they're able to. But I wanted to go in there blind and do it on my own. So if and when I win, because that's the goal, is to win, not to qualify for the elites, not to cash checks, not to make the top 10. I want to win one of these things. And when I do, I want to feel 100% satisfied that I did it all on my own merit.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate test to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want the shortcuts. And even if you look at the stats, on paper, I had a freaking terrible season. But the stats don't tell the whole story. Just like in basketball now, like I hate all these stat nerds that mouth off about stats on players, and they don't understand the game. They never played it, but they'll tell you everything that you don't want to hear about your team or guys that you might hold in high regard because of their work ethic and the intangibles that they bring to the game. Mm-hmm. And there's so much missing from just reading stats and tournament standings, especially because, dude, there are hammers out there that you should respect on the water and know that if you slip, like they're not going to let you get away with it. It's the margin for error in this level is wild. Like on Grand Lake, my second fish on day 2 is a high 5-pounder, and I'm used to fishing heavy enough gear to where I can just boat flip a fish of that class like easily. But I hooked that fish on light tackle on a new Defiant underspin that I've been testing, or actually is Defiant jig head, and I thought I had kind of worn her out, but I went down to reach and grab her because we can't use nets on the Bassmaster Opens. And right when I went to grab her mouth, she shook, and I missed on the grab, and she threw my bait. And that one fish cost me cost me a check, and I forget what that is, like $2,800 or $3,200. But like that's just one mistake, and guys win and lose these things by an ounce. Like that tournament I won it by 1/100th of a pound.
Wow,
like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's challenged me, man, to really up my mental game and my physical game. Like learning how to manage energy was an experience this year. Because I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I was not being able to get to sleep like the first few tournaments because from the excitement.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man! Like, we're fishing a Bassmaster freaking Open tomorrow, and I'm boat 168 or whatever. Like, what the hell? We're gonna launch 225 boats? Like, what time do I gotta be at the ramp? Like, and at Douglas Lake, I was the guy that they were like, "All right, boat 68, Oliver Ngy. Anybody seen Oliver Ngy?" And Riley's backing me into the water. And they skip me, and I lose my place by like 12 boats or something like that. And like, there's a lot going on, man. It's a complex world, a lot of moving parts, but I had a blast. I'm excited to do it all over again this year. I'm not going to do all 9. The Centrals just didn't really sound that appealing to me, and that opened up my schedule to maybe do some Toyota Series stuff, especially in the northern region. One of those Central events landed on the same day that FLW is having a Toyota Series on the St. Lawrence. So I want redemption on that body of water because I feel like I should have won that tournament. So if I can compete on that body of water again, I'm going to do that. And that's going to also allow me to pivot and kind of cherry pick almost like a traveler's region style through the MLF FLW Toyota Series tour. And I'm actually really considering about coming back home to the west and fishing Clear Lake, the Delta, and Havasu, which are on the schedule because I have experience on all 3 bodies of water.
Hell yeah.
And now I just got to figure out if I can get access to a secondary boat so I don't have to tow the Dream Machine all the way from the East Coast straight to the west. Okay. And you guys see behind me, I definitely have enough tackle here to make it work. I just need another boat.
Hey, for all you West Coast guys out there, he's looking. Somebody hook him up. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, we got to get a.
We might just swing through R&P and bring a speaker on. Hey,
I got no brand loyalties. I was making comments about my off-brand boat all night last night. So.
And just for the guys that think I'm wearing this for the opening day of rifle season, this is my Skeeter hoodie.
Yeah, actually, I ran a FX 2020 in 2014.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
Heck
could do
yeah.
that on a Skeeter. Holler at Justin for me tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Or a blazer, maybe. I mean, who knows?
Hey, I mean, the boat doesn't catch the fish.
Let's see. What graphs are you planning on running on? Are you going Garmin
I
on the
have
Old Town?
on the old towns right now.
Nothing yet.
Nothing. So I'm going to be fishing out of that kayak blind for now, I think.
Okay.
But I am on the Garmin team, but I'm also now on the Johnson Outdoors team.
Okay. I see.
I'm a little
Mega 360.
Yeah, I
I
really
got
don't have any more insight on that, so that's all I got.
I got the Mega 360 on my kayak.
Do you? Damn, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. I mean it's kind of gets in the way sometimes because it but it puts me on fish and I love it.
Well, maybe on the swing east, we make a swing through El Dorado and get a touch up on the Dream Machine for the tournament season and the Old Town.
There you go. Heck yeah.
Like we can maybe make that work.
I could see something like that happening.
Okay.
Casual Bass Guy, April 29th and 30th on Truman Lake. Oliver, the All-American Kayak Classic Open. Squeeze that in your empty schedule.
Yeah, that's the problem, man. It's that's a weekend. I think one of these FLW Western events is happening on. I think that might be Clear Lake, and I'm not missing Clear Lake that time of year.
Oh, no. I wouldn't blame you. No good fishing in Kansas, southeast Kansas. I think he's being facetious. There really is some good fishing around here.
I don't know, man. We had a pretty good time with them white bass on whatever the hell that was we were on.
El Dorado.
That was a windy son of a bitch. Jeez.
That's El Dorado, and there's some good smallies in there. There's some good largemouth in there too, but it's a tough lake. But that would be one if a guy who knew what he was doing with swimbaits, you'd have to spend some time on it, but you could figure it out. I caught a smallmouth, I don't know, like 2.5 pounder or something on one of those wake baits I got from Legal Dope out of El Dorado. So Joe says you can have the check. You'll be good enough for me. He says he's going to win the next two.
Cool. I just need one. I'm not going to be greedy, Joe. So shout out to my man Joe. Joe's on the Big Bass Dream Team, and he's going to be creating content for us and on the YouTube channel and traveling with me part-time this season. And you guys should follow him. He's a rad dude, man. Good people. So you can get that BKK Hooks hat on the interwebs right now. I don't know if anybody slings it, but I might know a guy. So we'll see what I can do, Joe.
Freaking monster Florida strain bass in the James.
Oh yeah, Riley caught one on her YouTube channel. If you guys get bored, check that out. Riley Colich, but she caught one on the last unofficial day of practice with me. 25 inches long, giant head and frame, and post-spawn fish. This is mid-April this year when that event was. Florida strain genetics, and it weighed 8.9. And in pre-spawn, that thing definitely had the frame to be a double digit.
Wow. Heck yeah.
There's big ones in there, dude. I'm excited to go back.
Something I'll say about Riley, I think that, when you guys came through, we could see the passion that she has for fishing. I'm just curious, like when you met her, did she already have that passion, or is that something that you helped spark?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I came across her because she was already her own passionate angler, and
Got it.
would see her going off on solo missions, bass fishing, and she grew up trout fishing in the Sierras with her family, and kind of got into the bass scene because she was close to one of the local home lakes here, and traveling with me this past year obviously opened up a whole nother country of possibilities, and it didn't take much, man. Like she's got that it factor for sure. And if you guys see like any of the content, like you'll see, like, dude, she's competitive as hell.
I saw a pretty impressive picture today, I think, that she posted.
Oh,
Was it the last couple of days or something? A big old fish.
oh yeah, probably big sheephead from yesterday.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, California sheephead. It's a really special species of wrasse that we have here off the Southern California coast. They pull hard. They taste good. Really cool fish, especially when they get big. They all start off as females, and then one fish on a dominant piece of cover or a reef or whatever will actually assume the dominant position and turn into a male and grow like this big ass knot head. And they crunch like sea urchins and mussels and like little lobsters and crabs. They're a badass fish.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, she's crazy, man. Like, don't get on her bad side. Like, you get caught slipping, she'll fire that cast like right where you're going and catch that fish. So shout out to Riley though.
For sure, absolutely.
She's impressive, man. I'm excited for her. She's actually gonna be fishing the Opens as a co this season.
Hell yeah.
So she's gonna give it hell, man. I'm excited for her season. Experience is a big deal, right? So she got a lot of experience this past year. We're gonna continue to learn and grow together with the whole team, traveling and fishing together and shooting content and try to continue to make what we're doing accessible to some degree to everybody else that might not be there yet. But
yeah,
man, if we can do it, anybody can live this way, man. I mean, you were talking about it before we went live, right? Like the fact that you get to do what you do for a living is wild.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I'm truly grateful, and I'm humbled by, like, I don't know how I ended up here, and I'm not living this lavish lifestyle or anything, but like, man, like the fact that I get to wake up in the morning and go to Russell Marine Products and get paid for it and talk about fishing all day, and then get off work and hang out in my garage and talk about fishing, with a badass like you. Like, dude, I don't know how the hell I got here. I'm just obsessed.
It's great, man. Fishing is a wonderful thing. It's created a lot of opportunity for a lot of us, myself included. So yeah. I'm really grateful to the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. CBG says it'd be cool to see you and Ike team up in the elites. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah.
Well, I'd have to qualify for the elites first, and I don't know if I really want to do that. I'm friends with enough of these guys, including Ike, and the fact that I can say that I'm friends with all these guys is mind blowing to me. Because I'm just that young kid, that would struggle to get 15 minutes to my local lake to try and catch a fish. And I'm still that same kid in a lot of ways. So watching those guys and what they have to commit to on a schedule and travel aspect doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
there's so much cool stuff to do through fishing. I'm hoping to scratch this tournament itch at a high level this season, next season, and the most part of the season after that, and hopefully achieve my goal of winning one of these events, and in doing so, hoping to qualify for the Bassmaster Classic and circumventing that entire elite schedule to fish the big show, right? And then I'll go back to doing whatever the hell it is that I want to do. And if that's dabble in a high level tournament like an Open here and there through a season, sweet. To beat 224 guys this day and age on that tour is as hard as any tournament series has ever been, and that's just my personal opinion. But like, that's enough. Like, still, I don't really want to fish the elite. At least not doing it for like a long-term career like a lot of these guys do. Like, pretty much all those guys do, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to make the elites to fish as an elite tournament fisherman the rest of their lives. That's not my path.
I could understand how somebody who has been, I mean, you've been making your way for the last 7 years. You said since 2014 you left your job and you said, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go fishing and I'm gonna pay the bills somehow through fishing. And you've been able to do that.
Yeah.
So for somebody who has been able to do that, you know, it's the Elite Series was the only option, you know, or whatever, right? You know, for somebody to make a living in the fishing industry, there weren't very many other opportunities for somebody, but now there are, you know, through social media and all these other avenues that you have explored, and plenty of avenues that probably don't even exist yet.
I'm always exploring new avenues. You got to diversify. You got to diversify your business portfolio. You got to diversify your fishing tactics. Diversification is key.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not I can understand how it's just something you want to test yourself. You want to see if you can do it. You want to see if you got what it takes, right? You want to push yourself to the limits, and once you prove it to yourself, like, you can go back to doing whatever.
Totally, man.
Okay. I get it when guys say they're not competitive and just fish for fun, but exactly what you said, Ollie. The goal is always to get a W and to do it at a higher level.
And that's fair too. I mean, take basketball for example. Like, there's always guys that show up every Saturday morning for the Saturday runs, right? And they never played any high level organized basketball, but they love the game just as much as the next guy.
Yep.
And he's good with playing at the rec center or 24-hour fitness or whatever it is. Like, cool.
He'd probably wipe a lot of dudes, you know, with the floor, you know, too.
Yeah, that's real tough.
You know, and that's kind of where I'm at to a certain extent. I feel like, you know, running the club, and, you know, I'm running the Kansas Bass Nation Kayak Series, and, you know, trying to grow the sport in this area. Like, that's important to me. I'm not going anywhere. I've got young kids, you know, so I'm here, and I'm going to try to make kayak fishing as big as I can right now, right here.
You're already making an impact from all the things that you shared with me in the short time we've known each other. It's impressive, man. Keep rocking.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I appreciate that. Let me see here. What do you? I got some things on my list here. I know we're probably getting close to wrapping it up, but advancement in electronics.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on it? I know you've got 3 graphs on the bow of your boat, so obviously, you know, you're not against it, but how do you feel that has helped the fishing industry or hurt the tournament scene or whatever?
Oh, that's another complex question with a complex.
You got 30 seconds.
All right, here we go. Here's my background. I didn't have access to any of that shit. Right? I thought it was dope when I got a Fishing Buddy 2, which was like a portable fish finder for float tubes back in the day.
Yeah.
Like goldfish, like 3 pixel, like, you know, like fish icons.
Yeah.
I could see how deep I was in the water temp. And those are 2 huge pieces of the puzzle for me back then. So I made do with little to no electronics for the vast majority of my fishing life, and really had to utilize my fishing style and my lures as my depth finders, right? And figuring out what kind of bottom composition or cover was down there by feel, and how long it took for that bait to sink, et cetera, et cetera. When I'm painting a topographical map of the layout from memory and experience.
Yeah.
So the way I utilize my 3 graphs, as you saw at the shop, is exactly that, but just in modern form. Like, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's literally there in front of me for me to reference. So like when I'm sitting on a big flat and I'm targeting a specific break and it's got a sweet spot with some rocks on it, I no longer have to make 5,000 casts on that flat to paint that picture. I can see it right now in real time and determine my boat positioning, my angle of approach, how I'm going to cast, where in the column I want to present the bait, because now I can see the fish and the bait in real time in relation to where they are in front of my trolling motor. And now I can also see them on the other screen of how far out and how deep they're sitting in the water column. So if you don't know what you're doing with that information, it doesn't matter whether or not you got whatever the electronics are. You still need to be able to piece the puzzle, make the right decisions with that information, and catch the fish.
Yeah.
Like, guys have always had the latest and greatest in technology leading up to this point, and it's no different now. There are plenty of guys that I see struggle with this stuff. They don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And worse, they don't know what to do with that information. So to read comments from people, a casual observer, and usually it's the guys from a position of want, right? It comes from almost a position of envy and jealousy, I think, to where they're bashing guys that have access to these tools. It's like, oh, you guys are ruining fishing. Like, you're taking the purity of the sport away. Like, bullshit. Because if that were true, my $22,000 electronic system would have guaranteed me a win in all 9 opens.
Yeah.
I sucked, and I got the sickest graph setup, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's pretty badass.
Thanks, man. But it's still just a tool, and how you utilize that tool. And mind you, I would have probably sucked a lot worse if I didn't have those tools.
Sure. Or you could have been somehow more effective without them. I don't know how.
I mean, there's something we said about simplicity, and that's what attracted me to the kayak game.
Right?
Yeah. Because I was reducing myself down to a couple rods, 1 or 2 boxes of baits. And actually, I didn't have a graph on it early. So I'd have to kind of go back to that early developmental state of mind of having to keep things really basic and raw.
I used to use my anchor as a depth finder, drop it out, and then you count up the line that you bring up, and you're like, okay, that's about 15 feet of water.
That's pretty smart, but man, that sounds like a lot more work than dropping a jig down 15 feet and winding it in.
Yeah.
I mean, but I
don't know how much line I got out, right? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I would use the rod and kind of like lift it for like a 7-foot rod.
There you go. Right?
And then wind down and be like, oh, okay, I got like a rod and a half, so 10 foot of water sometimes. But
oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. Well, I got a fish finder now, so I'm good.
Yeah. There's so many good fish finders, even 2D stuff that tell you so much that you need to know. It's almost no excuse. For like a few $100, you can get yourself a decent unit.
Sure.
Yeah. But electronics, it's an interesting thing because I never felt that I was strong in that regard. But that's changed because I've actually devoted time into learning how to utilize them to supplement my approach.
And I think at the end of the day, what electronics do is they just make us more efficient.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, to sum it up, just like you're saying, though, all the information you talked about having available to you wouldn't do you any good if you couldn't spot lock that trolling motor and keep you in position. And, you got to have, like you say, you spend $20,000 on electronics or whatever. And there's all these little pieces to that puzzle just to make everything work the way it should.
But see, what I appreciate is that I came from such a humble beginning and I had so much experience not having any of that crap. Having to fight the wind in a aluminum rental boat with a coffee can anchor. So when I had catastrophic failures on the boat this year, whether it was trolling motor batteries or my trolling motor not working or what have you, I was able to pivot and still stay mentally focused on the task at hand and stay fishing and competing. I feel like guys that have had the luxury of getting all the tools like that to jump ahead of the curve kind of suffer from lack of experience of knowing what it's like to not have that stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I feel like it makes them more susceptible to not being as adaptable when things go wrong. And dude, I don't care what boat you're running, how new it is, something is going to go wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's the nature of boating. It's frustrating, but it's just the reality of it. So
yeah, well, all of these things are made by man, so you buy a $20,000, 4-stroke outboard engine and most of the time they work great, but somebody gets one that it's going to shit out, early on.
Totally.
So, I mean, stuff like that happens. But yeah, I think that you have somewhat of an underdog story, I think. I don't know if you
Thanks.
would agree.
I,
And
I find myself relating to underdogs. Like growing up here in LA, for example, I started watching basketball at the age of 10. And at the time, this is like when Magic Johnson just retired from his HIV announcement. So for those first 3-4 years of my basketball fandom, I watched a terrible Lakers team and a terrible Clippers team. And still now, I find myself rooting for the Clippers because they're the perennial underdog. They don't have 17 banners up in the rafters of Staples. Because I can relate to a typical Clippers fan more so than a bougie Lakers fan. So,
but I think that kind of goes back to what you were just saying. You trial by error. I think the more you fail, the more you learn how to succeed. And I found myself in some situations not long ago where I honestly didn't know how I was going to get myself out of them. And I have a wife and kids that might be in this position with me. And I have put myself in these positions to where I didn't have any other option but to succeed. And so sometimes that's just what you got to do.
bravo to you, brother. No, real talk. Yeah, that's great.
So, failing is, it's like you say, you got to learn from it.
You gotta be willing to fail. As a trophy bass fisherman, like if you weren't willing to fail, like you can't be a trophy bass fisherman. And the same thing on the competitive side. If you haven't failed at some level, like, you're probably not very high up in the chain in the competitive world.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of criticism for failures and people that openly fail publicly. But man, the biggest winners are I've found in life, and these aren't even public figures sometimes, like they're more than willing to fail and take a shot at it. But the thing is that they learn from those failures, make adjustments, make another attempt, and get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that also is an inspiration for people that, maybe don't know if they want to take that step. If they see somebody putting themselves out there and they see them fail, but then they see them get back up and try again and succeed, then, okay, well, maybe I can do that too. Inspiring the next generation.
Dude, there is not a human being in the history of this planet that has gone through life undefeated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is going to bust your ass. Just accept it.
Hey, it does. Heck yeah, man. So many things to do in fishing. Okay, Richie says he was a volunteer at the BBZ Junior Championship, attended the BPS US Open weigh-in, and witnessed history. Helped 2 buddies break personal best in 2021.
Stop boasting, Richie. Get out of here, man.
But these are all cool things. Like, if you want to be a part of the fishing community, you can do it right where you're at.
Totally. Fishing is worldwide, man. It belongs to everyone and it belongs to no one at the same time. So.
Oh yeah. Joe says his graph setup is better. He must have hummingbirds.
He's got a combo setup.
Okay. He's got the 360 though, right?
I think he does.
There you go. No electronics brand loyalty.
Yeah.
All right. He says he tries to take what he needs. I know I'm going to use when bank fishing. Try to bring lunch boxes full of crankbaits and swimbait wraps. That's something I need to get. I need to get some of those wraps because I just don't have a good way to transport my swimbaits. I got a big, deep, Plano box, and it's just always in the way.
Yeah.
Especially on the kayak.
There's just no great solution, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, even new boats break. Bust out another 1,000. You learned that one this year.
Oh, yeah. That's how we keep Russell Marine in business, baby.
Hey, People are calling every day. Oh, they keep that phone ringing, that's for sure.
Oh man, no doubt. When I was there for those couple days, you guys just nonstop. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the guys in the shop stay busy too.
Hell yeah.
And the girls in shipping are just, we run them ragged. Okay, so Carlos says he's waiting to do some kayak paddleboard fishing in the Everglades. That sounds badass.
Shout out to my man Carlos. This dude is a savage. He
Hell
fished
yeah.
in the Everglades and all the alligator infested waters in Florida out of a paddleboard.
Hell yeah. He is a badass.
I don't know how that thing sinks with the size of his balls, or doesn't sink with the size of his balls. Crazy. And,
Heck yeah.
He showed me a dope video of him catching his PB. I think it was either early this year or late last year. It was a freaking monster 12-pounder. It came up and like smashed his swim bait like out of the water. Like,
Hell yeah.
no. So yeah, big shout out to my man Carlos, man. I'll be back in Florida this January, February, homie.
He says he know me.
Yeah.
And he's got the little alligator emojis. Okay, so Joe has 4 birds in a Garmin. I'm sure he's running LiveScope off the Garmin.
Oh, he is.
So, heck yeah. Well, you know what? If you end up coming through Kansas and you want to fish a little tournament or something, I mean, we could make it happen. We could get some of these Kansas boys together.
Is it ice fishing in January?
Dude, we don't get ice fish in Kansas. We're not far enough north. Like last year, there was like maybe a 7 to 10 day window where guys were on the ice. And then after that, it was, and that's kind of risky, like having that small of a window.
I'm out.
But there was guys out at Wilson, and Wilson is one you should really check out if you come do some fishing in Kansas.
You guys got any power plant lakes?
We have Lacine up in the Kansas City. It's kind of up north near Kansas City-ish. And there's been like a couple 9-pounders caught out of there. But so that's one. And then there's another one, not Coffee County, but there's another one, and they've got some good smallies and stuff in there too. There's a couple.
Sick.
There's a couple.
Oh yeah, we'll try to have to schedule something on the late fall run, probably when I'm heading back home to the West Coast after the end of the year again. Kind of similar to what we did this fall.
Yeah, and Sooner's not too far either.
Okay.
In Oklahoma.
Got it.
Joe says, RMP is always willing to answer questions. They're true ambassadors of the sport. Best customer service anytime I've called. Heck yeah. I'll probably talk to you, Joe. So, yeah, I appreciate that. And we do pride ourselves on that. I mean, there's literally 3 guys that answer the phone. And sometimes Josh will jump on there, and he's pretty knowledgeable as well, especially for you Garmin guys. But Wolf Creek, that's the other one. Shout out to my boy Organic. He fished the strip pit tournament with us this year. That's the other power plant lake. Appreciate you, man.
Sick.
So, all right, man. Well, I think it's probably about time for me to go put the kids to bed. Really appreciated having you on here tonight. There's probably another couple hours of chatting we could go if we really wanted to, but
easy.
Like you said, it went by pretty quick. We still got guys in the chat, so sorry guys. We'll have to bring him back another time, but definitely, I don't like to say good luck, man, but have fun. Just go out there, do your thing, and just take all the information that you were able to gather this year and use it, and go get some revenge on some of those lakes.
Hell yeah, man. I'm hyped for this season. Hopefully we'll figure out some Russell Marine specific projects with the team here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I'll be in touch with the rest of the boys, and stay tuned because there's a whole lot of content coming at you guys on all the platforms from a multitude of team members. It's going to be a big year, I think, for Big Bass Streams, Russell Marine, and myself. So thanks for having me on. Appreciate everybody tuning in, contributing to the comment stream. You guys have a great end of the year, man.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and sign out. Make sure you check him out on YouTube. I'm sure you guys already have, but go get you some of those Big Bass Dreams hats like Eddie's got over there. He's got the floral print. He's got it all.
Yeah. Shout out to man Eddie.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.